I feel like a lot of the time I speak like fairly prominent. Yeah, right. The way that I say things is super uncomfortable. Like,
Yellow, and welcome to Idiots with Instruments, the show that follows Red Hot Rebellion as we write and record our new album from start to finish, while interviewing pro musicians, producers, and songwriters of all genres to gain insight into their own creative processes. Baby, come back. I'm Jim Tramontana, bassist and lead vocalist of Red Hot Rebellion.
I wasn't expecting that. I'm Doug. I play guitar and am the least important vocal.
I'm Andres. I play the drums, and I'm not comfortable to be around.
Yeah, it is very uncomfortable in here right now.
Oh, I'm so uncomfortable right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest today. I'd like to welcome to the show an extremely prolific songwriter who in the past 4 years has written over 1,000 songs, a man who some call the next Sia in terms of songwriting, but not a lady from Australia. He's our new pal, our new life coach. It is Stolar. Welcome to the show, and thank you for slumming it with Idiots with Instruments. How are you, Stolar?
I am doing very good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Is that the best intro you've had in the last week and a half?
That was pretty good. I had one yesterday, and this trumped that pretty
Nice.
hardcore. So
Awesome.
I'm into it. Although I wish I was, like a woman from Australia. I would make it all better.
So do we.
Yeah, I think that's something all of us wish. It's all right.
So when we were going over a little bit of background on your prolificness, one of the stats that came up a couple times was how in like the past 4+ years you've written over 1,000 songs, and I did the math on that, and that's like 68% of a song per day. How the hell do you do that?
Well, it doesn't always work exactly like that. Some days the way I tend to operate is I write every day. So I have a daily process in the morning where my personal philosophy creatively is to be constantly writing things for a purpose and without a purpose. And what I mean by that is just writing for the sake of writing and having no idea where it's going to go and what it's going to be for. And so that means at least every day, at least 5 days a week, there's something that's going to come out every morning. And then if I'm working with different people at a writing camp or different artists, or if I'm in a period where I'm really gathering material for my own project, sometimes those will be 3 or 4 songs in a day. And that could go on for, 4 or 5 days a week for a month or two.
Right.
So I'm not writing 68% of the song a day.
Right.
That'd be pretty wild if I get to the 68% point and I'm able to
All right.
actually pinpoint
Checking
what that
out,
is. And
done
I was
for the day.
All right, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
Have a drink.
What instruments do you write on usually? Is it piano, guitar, or is it in your head?
If I'm by myself, I have a piano at home, so I'll either write on the piano, guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, or bass, or I'll program something and loop that and sing over it, or I'll write 2 tracks that people send me. And then the most common way in co-write sessions, either in New York or LA or Nashville, are people building out tracks in the room while I'm there and writing to that in the moment. Or I play a progression on the guitar or whatever instrument, and then whoever the production partner is that day will start building around that. And if I'm by myself, I just go into that space of fleshing out all the melodies and lyrics and figuring out what the hell it is that I'm writing about. Or if there's other people in the room, we all do it together.
Right. Gotcha.
Cool.
That sounds cool.
How do you keep track of that much work? When you're writing by yourself, obviously in a session where you're writing, collaboratively in the moment, it's a little bit easier when you're on a project with a specific goal. But when it's just yourself, Because like for us, like we're a 3-piece rock band, and most of our music starts with our guitarist coming to us with like riffs and progressions, and sometimes he comes with like hundreds of riffs, and like he honestly, I don't think you have any organizational structure.
My organizational skills is pretty terrible with,
so
with all of that.
please teach us how
Yes, please.
how do you keep track of all that stuff and keep it separate?
Yeah.
Like, I guess what's your housekeeping method for keeping all your works in progress in line?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question. I don't know you guys at all, but I'll just like process it with you because it's actually something I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah.
When I'm so last year, to get really personal for a second, I got out of a really long relationship, went out and got like super drunk with a couple friends 2 nights in a row, and then started getting the barrage of texts of like, oh man, you're single now, come out, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And realized super quickly that life in New York plus being in music was going to lead to a very dangerous place. So that's when I actually took my commitment to daily practice even further with morning practice that involved meditation and some movement, and then a 10-minute, I call it a container that I call the dig, where I turn on a recorder and improvise melodies and lyrics in the moment. I don't allow myself to like settle on anything. If I hit a great idea, I'll stick with it for a second and then move on. And the idea is just to like become more comfortable with channeling and working in the moment and following every impulse, and also bringing up ideas that are subconscious, like the shit that I don't want to talk about. And I've been developing that more and more and more. And last year, pretty much from April until January of this year, was a heavy focus on generating material for myself and for this project, Raw Emotions, that I have out right now. And what I found was, even though I have like spreadsheets of like, okay, here are 30 songs that have no production, that are just like in a certain form, and I'll make a column. I'll go through and organize it all. What I found consistently is that I knew the ones that were great.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as much as I organized it, I'm like, okay, but these are like the top 3 that I need to work on right now. So when I got into a room and we hit a wall and someone's like, oh, I don't know, does anyone have anything? I'm like, oh, well, sometimes I'll bring out my spreadsheet, but sometimes I don't want people to know that I have
Right.
a
You're such a dork.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How much should you structure that stuff? And how much, if you're in a process, like you guys are in a band, or for me, when I'm working on music for myself as an artist, how organized do I want to be?
Right.
And what's the balance between like chaos and structure? Because once you get in a room and someone's like, let's work on something, or if it's a session for myself and I sit down, like, I'm going to know the song that's eating at me, or the concept that I like can't stop. Like right now I have this idea for a song called Weather, where it's like a friend of mine was talking about how their ex-boyfriend wants to talk, and she had already talked to him a month before, and she's like, I already know everything that's going on in your life. Like, I don't want to talk about the fucking weather. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I keep
That's a
thinking
great
about that.
line,
Like this idea of like, I just don't want to talk to you about nothing. If I'm going to talk to you,
Right. You want it to be
either
meaningful.
it's because like something is important, blah, blah, blah. So it keeps coming back, so like I can make a spreadsheet of 10 ideas, but that one keeps coming back at the top. I do think like a monthly assessment would be valuable.
Right.
And it's just really hard. That's the hardest part, I think. Go through, listen to all those riffs and kind of decide which ones are great, and
Right. I think my son...
not allow like quantity to become a crutch.
Yeah.
Right.
And you may have already answered this question, but what you just said there was really awesome, and I could totally relate to all of that and going through. But I guess my sub question to all that would be, when you're going through that process of just getting it out there, and you said you might stick with something for a couple seconds or work on it just a little bit longer than maybe something else that you're kind of like, I don't know about that one. Have you ever tried taking time with the ones that you thought, man, I don't know if I really like this idea, but I want to maybe take it a little bit further and see what happens with it?
it depends how strongly I feel about it.
Okay.
Like, if I'm going to be totally upfront right now, I've been thinking, especially with music right now, like I made a really concrete decision to focus on songwriting. Like I like to produce demos as well, but I'm very conscious to not put a lot of my time into production because I'd rather just be the absolute, like reach my potential in this one thing than be like decently connected to my songwriting and like medium connected to production and like a pretty decent guitar player. You know what I mean? Like spreading myself too thin. So at the moment, like building a little bit of a team of producers and writers that work, I guess, like in the Stolar camp, both for songs for me and for other people. And then being like, you know what, this is a song that I really love and I'm personally connected to. No one else on my team seems to feel or see the commercial value of this, but I don't really care. I think it's amazing. Would you want to work on this with me? So I'm trying to like spread out the material so that I can possibly address all of the things that maybe are really important, but aren't getting the attention that they need because of actual time.
Okay.
So I guess the answer to that is like, if I don't think something feels good or has value to it, no, I don't think I'll work on it. Okay. But if there's something to it, and even though it's not like in the greatest shape, or if I wouldn't show it to anyone, but I'm like, no, but there's this idea or that melody, there's something inspired about this and it needs to be finished. It needs to be brought to life.
Right.
That kind of goes back to what I was saying before, you know, writing music for just the sake of doing it with absolutely no end goal in mind. And then writing music where it's like, okay, this could be the next single, or this could be on the album, or this is in contention for the project, you know?
Right. Yeah. And do you know immediately whether this is like a Stolar's solo song, or it's something that's going to be for someone else, or is it kind of depend?
I made a big decision last year, and I'm going to follow through with this at least, I think, through next year, where everything I write, I'm open to other people, other artists recording, at least for a period of time. And one of the next singles that I have coming out was like one of the most personal songs that I've ever written, to the point where I didn't think, maybe I was just so caught up in my own head. And you know, when you get just like nervous about sharing something that you're like, I don't really want people to know this, but
absolutely
every day.
Raw
that, It's basically our entire lives.
Everything.
Yeah,
it ended up becoming really resonant, and now that's getting put out by another artist later this month. So it happens all the time, but it's a concrete decision that I've made that, you know what, nothing is quote unquote mine until that decision is made.
Right.
And what's been cool about that is it requires like real concrete, hard thought and artistic focus on which of these songs am I going to really pull into my world, you know, and finish and have the production represent who I am as an artist, and kind of like take it out of the pool for other people being able to cut it.
Right. Yeah. And then with your Raw Emotions project,
a little scary, guys.
with the Raw Emotions project,
it freaks me out, but it's helpful.
Yeah. With Raw Emotions, you've been releasing new music every month for the past several months, and do you continue, or do you plan on continuing that, and or are you exploring the entire breadth of human emotions here? Because I think what's coming up next is anxiety and excitement, right? In April, and those are two biggies. But so I guess how far?
Yeah, We're it started in October. It's going to go on. It's an 18-month project, so it'll go on till like next January, February.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's pretty bold. Some days I think that I'm an absolute moron for going through it.
Well, let us tell you some of the things we've done, man. This sounds pretty awesome.
It's
compared to some of the crazy shit we've done.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool. What did you say?
I mean, some of the crazy shit we've done is not nearly as cool as this, but
Well, I think it's excellent that you're able to kind of delve into yourself and really kind of share your, I think that everybody who writes music and plays music struggles to some degree to kind of get themselves out there in their music.
yeah.
And like, this is just that, which seems really awesome to me.
Right. And super deep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, so the amount of vulnerability.
Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah, the amount of vulnerability you've shown in this project is pretty amazing. And I mean, does it get overwhelming to like go that deep? Because I mean, we're a 3-piece, pretty much punk rock band in a lot of respects, where we're real raw. I mean, the biggest emotions we deal with are like, but we're all crazy. But we're like trying to channel, we channel like the more nuanced emotions, I think, through high energy and like almost aggression a little. But so like for me and personally, I think I'm really interested in like how it is to like delve into that like vulnerable place and write songs like that. So why'd you do it? And how'd you do it?
Yeah. No, totally. I'm fascinated by by like what comes up when nothing's blocking it. Bob Dylan talks about this, like going between the subconscious and the conscious mind. Like you dive in and you're in a subconscious place and things are just happening and you're not judging it. You're not editing. You're just like letting it form itself. And then you kind of come back out and go into a more conscious place and be a bit more of a craftsman in that moment. Like, maybe not that. Maybe I should make this choice. I should move, and then coming back in and going back out. And raw emotion for me gives me the opportunity to like just completely go there. And it also forces me to be real with everyone else. It is hard, if I'll be honest with you, to like talk about, especially like anxiety and excitement, and when we did regret and all these different emotions, like it's challenging to be that vulnerable in front of people all the time, but it's forcing me to be real in my writing at a time. And also, like, I write a lot. I do a lot of pop sessions here in Los Angeles, where I'm at right now, or at home in New York. And it's really easy to get swept away by nonsense and surface level bullshit. Like, even if you're writing a song that's about something lighthearted and fun, which actually has been my goal for this week, because I've been writing such heavy stuff. Raw Emotions has taught me that like joy is a powerful emotion too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, just because you're writing a song about like, I want to be with you all day and night, like I just want you, that doesn't mean that it has to be shallow. And exploring this vast array of human emotion, which I'm realizing is impossible to explore all of, is pushing me to find a way to be the most myself that I can. And I think if I want to be a good person and have an impact on the world and make music that makes people feel things, I have to be willing to go there myself. Like, I can't ask you to take a song and here, this is for you to listen to after you just lost your father or got out of a relationship or something really traumatic happened. I have to be willing to go there as well. It's not fair to just ask it from the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah. So I guess
Started to get really heavy for a second.
No,
but-
that's great.
I mean, that was
That's
the
awesome.
question we ask, and I mean,
Right.
and it's totally on trend or like on brand.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
On brand for Raw Emotions, man. So I guess to like, all right, let's switch it into a different direction. And since we were talking about food anywhere, you live in Brooklyn now, right? So where's your favorite place to get a slice?
Joe's Pizza on North 5th and Bedford. I mean, that's like, there's a bunch that are really great, but I think Joe's is one of the best, and it's right on the corner from where I live. It's amazing. You should go there. Do you guys live in New York?
No. We live in Ohio. It's
Yeah.
it's awful
it's
here.
terrible.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
But yeah, I guess this. Yeah. But you grew up in the suburbs, right? So I mean, I guess like, that's another question if you have time for it. Is like, how does the place, like being in a different place, and how does place affect your writing? Do you find like different cities command different things creatively or
Inspire
emotionally?
different ways?
Yeah.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, everybody in my world thinks that I should move to Los Angeles, and I feel like once a week I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. But if my instinctual answer to this is that there's energy to a place, but I also think that there's a psychological space that being in a place that you live and being in a place that you're traveling to, and the amount of time you're going to be in that place dictates. Like for me, besides the fact that like some of the most brilliant songwriters and producers have all migrated to Los Angeles, when I come here for 7 or 10 days, like I have one singular focus, and that's to write great songs that mean something to me.
You're
you know,
there to work.
when I'm at home, I also have to like make sure I don't get a ticket on my car, and you know, all kinds of other things that are taking up my headspace. And it's a different place that I'm creating from. But New York also just has so much energy, and I think that it has to be resonating in the music, or whatever art form that you make. And there's so much inspiration. Like I'll go see plays and shows that friends are having. You know, there's so much energy.
Yeah. So I have a question that's kind of unrelated. So did you work a regular job like out of college, or did you just immediately go into music?
I got out of college, and my mom and dad have always been really supportive, but they've been very tough about making sure that I actually make a living from being an artist. So I did a bunch of weird stuff, but always in music. Like one of the first things I started was I realized that like there were all these, I'll just be totally transparent. There's all these like rich kid summer camps in the Northeast.
Right.
So I had a band, and my band and I would go to these camps, and we did these shows where it was like partially us playing original music and partially like guitar players and singers coming up and playing with us for the camp. So we had this like weird hybrid between live music and like School of Rock kind of thing for a couple years. And then I just, I dove really hard into writing songs with people and started making a living doing that. Definitely didn't make a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
We've licensed like a lot of songs for film and TV, so, and yeah, I would say we're at the not making a lot of money stage.
So like with that, when you
it's like diversity, man.
Yeah.
When you were working your other like gigs, basically traveling around, were you writing as much, or like how did that, like basically doing something not writing music for a profession, how did that affect your songwriting?
Well, I was still playing the songs that I would write, like songs that I'd written at these shows. But no, it's partially why that band broke up. And it was like, I remember we had some cool stuff going on for us, but I remember saying to the bass player and the writer in the band, I was like, look, I know we have some things that are going on, but just it doesn't feel like we're growing, and I'd rather take this little bit of excitement and flame that I have in myself and take the huge risk of going out and just like following that passion and do something that to a degree just started to be, I guess this is a little bit of a different topic, but in that band, it was too many people with disparate visions and opinions, and we just kept hitting walls. And because of that, I think everyone became kind of scared to make huge, bold decisions artistically. We just constantly were compromising. And so, like, if anything, that stopped me the most. Like, that was the most barren period of my life creatively. And maybe it did have something to do with the other work we're doing wasn't nearly creative enough.
So would you ever work in another band situation before or again, or are you pretty much done with that?
It would take the right situation.
Yeah.
Right. Will you be in our band?
Yeah, will you be in our band? We'll do whatever you want.
Maybe, guys. But send me some riffs.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, Dougie's got a bunch of them.
Yeah, we got
over.
riffs for days, man. Well, Stolar, thank you so much for.
I want the riff spreadsheet. Make sure you go through it. I want to hear the top 10.
Well, that's the thing is Doug can only count to 4 and he cannot use a computer. So
That's okay. I work with spreadsheets not all day, but I work with spreadsheets a lot at work. I could totally hook something up there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well,
Yeah. Thanks,
man, make your riff spreadsheet and put, like, in the spreadsheet, have a column that has hyperlinks to recordings of the riffs in, like, a Dropbox. And do, like, the top 20.
Dude,
let me know how that goes. I bet you'd love it.
Dude, that's a good idea for an app.
That's a great
Stolar, let's we're going into business. You and us, we're gonna make like the Riff Lord app.
Riff Lord.
Riff Lord app for the iPhone and Android, coming to you in 2019.
Yep. Awesome.
From Rebellion Stolar Enterprises. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, man.
Yes,
this has
thank
been
you,
really
awesome.
nice.
I mean, if you ever want to talk again, you should totally hit us up. 'Cause this has been really fun.
We're good at chitty chatting.
No, guys, it was my pleasure. And keep me in the loop on everything that you're doing. And I guess, with Raw Motions too, since we've talked so much about it, let me know what you think as things come out. I think what I'm hoping with this too is just to be pushed more and more. And these conversations are great for me because it reminds me why I'm doing it and helps me be bolder in my choices.
Yeah.
Are a lot of people who listen to this like just different songwriters and musicians, and that's kind of your vision for
our
people that are coming to this?
Yeah, we're kind of, this is like our first attempt at a podcast like this. I come from like a creative writing background. I wrote a novel last year and turned it into a serial audio fiction podcast, but we as a band has been around for a couple of years and we have a couple albums out, but we got the idea to podcast the writing of our new album, but what we wanted to do was share our process, but also talk to other musicians and songwriters from all different genres and all different walks of life and ability level and career level, and kind of get their insight as well, because
we need help.
We have, we need help, and like our listeners do as well, because they're pro and semi-pro and aspiring of all levels. So it's a hodgepodge of different music fans as well, because a lot of our fans and fans who I've talked to just in general really have no idea how this stuff works and what the process is. So all of that in a blender, bruh.
Yeah,
right.
It's kind of a neat behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, totally. I can't emphasize enough, especially if there's people listening that like, oh, how do I write a hit song? How do I write great songs? I think it's just like write songs.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All the time. Whether it's like, and I've found that 5 days a week, like minimum, consistently is a pretty magic number. Like every single day might be a little too much. But I don't know. Just if that's part of the focus, write songs.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, and I think that's just good advice for any creative pursuit: is do it every day.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
or at least 5 days.
5 days a week.
Yeah, you got to take time for a break and whatever.
Right. You don't want to. You don't want to
you
get
can do
burnt
7
out
if you want. For me, I've found 5 is great.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. Everybody's different too. You
that's
know?
how I treat my diet. I'm real good for 5 days and real bad for 2. Yeah, it's a whole other rabbit hole, like how to stay healthy as a musician. But we won't go down that today. That's just a crazy ball of wax right there. like I was saying, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. This has been really invaluable, and we appreciate all your insight and everything, and everything you do as a writer.
Yeah.
Keep writing, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Guys, it's been a real pleasure.
All right. Talk to you later, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. That was I was trying to ask about like the writing, because like we've mentioned before, we all have regular asshole jobs, and like
Right, yeah.
like Stolar, that's fucking awesome. The dude can write 1,000 songs in, what was it, 4 years?
4 years, yeah.
But like that's what he does as a job 5 days a week. So I
Right,
was trying to
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
trying to ask
That's
about
a good,
that.
That was
Like
a good
how
question.
what about for us assholes?
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that he had worked a regular job, because I was going to ask him when he knew when to quit. Like and when to,
Right.
but I mean, he
Yeah.
answered with the band, like
Yeah.
when he felt like he was
Yeah.
getting stifled. When he was talking about like the weather song and how it's important to have like meaningful conversations with people. You don't want to just talk about bullshit or whatever. I've thought about this a lot. Like there are people who you interact with on a daily basis or whatever, who you're probably never going to see again. You get one shot.
Right.
So like, I think it's important to stay positive and try to have like a
Yeah,
good,
like a meaningful
real,
connection.
meaningful
Yeah.
connection. And like,
Yeah, and that's something I kind of struggle with. I feel like I'm kind of
Me
like
too.
on the spectrum of like being like kind of a sociopath, because like looking back at a lot of interactions I have with people, I feel like, man, I could have been a little more responsive or
Right.
genuine or
well,
you know.
and I think that that's something that's pretty typical. I think that there are a lot
So
of
I'm not
like-
weird? I'm not-
No,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think you're weird. I think that I do that too. Like, even though I try not to. I try to keep
Right.
like consciously think about like how.
But do you take it to an extreme where you're loading people's equipment into the car?
Yeah, I mean maybe
the
I don't know.
shingles and
But
that's
like I'm genuinely interested in
Right.
interacting with people too, because
Yeah.
I
I think you're a better human than me. Is what
I probably not. I think I'm just more. I hate myself.
right, yeah.
Which I think is
And
more
and
of
you
what
like
it
other
is.
people more than you.
Right. So I want to find out how other people are living their lives.
Right.
Which is almost
And how do they-
certainly more successfully than I
Yeah.
am.
How do they live with themselves?
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's important to have positive interactions with people,
Yeah.
and yeah, make shit as meaningful as you can.
Right. Yeah. And like what I was saying earlier about like with our music and like the catharsis of it.
Right.
I mean, I think because, the reason we play heavy music is because we're all angry. Well, but it's also fun. I think our music
Right.
is fun. I mean, some people would call it aggressive, but I think it's more fun and exciting.
I would just describe it. I would describe us as emotional instead of just angry
Emo?
in particularly. Well, no, I mean, because like it's not all anger.
No.
You know, like there's a lot of
Joy.
joy that comes
Yeah,
from
yeah.
that cathartic
Yeah.
release
Yeah.
that music gives us.
And speaking of release, there's some sex in there. It's rock and roll. So there's the
Yeah. There's always sex in everything.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now it's time for awkwardness with Doug.
Oh boy.
See? Yeah. Uncomfortable, isn't it?
So this is what it feels like.
I think Dougie's hit a wall.
Oh, yeesh. I'm kidding. No, interesting conversation you lads are having. I was thinking about the interaction with others, musical relationships, right?
Right.
And what we were just talking about with our bro, Stolar, and how that comes across, whether it be through music or just at Home Depot or whatever. But
Right.
I was thinking about, because I got to go in people's homes and stuff, and
right, for your day
see
job.
how people live,
Right.
and, for my
Yeah.
asshole job, and
Has that made you a worse human or a better?
I I don't know. I mean, I think I started off as a pretty terrible human being anyway, but
You are fantastic.
but it's interesting to see that because I go into, I mean, all walks of life. It doesn't,
Right.
It doesn't matter, and what's interesting is there's common themes amongst just humans in general. I think is what I've gathered from my journeys is that and he kind of talked about it a little bit when he was talking about the being in a different place kind of makes him feel a different way and can channel different energy and things
Right.
like that. So
Yeah.
I definitely for sure I think being in different spots and all of that, but seeing the rawness. I mean, it doesn't get more raw when you're in somebody's house,
Home.
their
Yeah.
home.
Right.
and
That's their sanctuary. Like
right.
that's
That's. I mean, it's more than a place than putting your stuff. I think.
Right.
And being in there and just seeing that and being a part of it, just for a limited time only. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But
that sounds fascinating.
yeah, well,
actually.
it kind of is, and I mean, I strive to be the change I want to see. You know what I mean? In
Right.
the world, like
Right.
not be an asshole, don't drive like a dick.
Yeah.
To get back the extra money the cashier gives me, just simple
Right,
shit like
yeah.
that.
Right.
But at the same time, how does that translate into the music? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm angry or anything like that. I just like
Rockin'.
loud and
Yeah.
fast
Rowdy.
music.
Right. Yeah,
Rowdy
yeah.
music. That's what I like.
Right.
you
Well,
know?
yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff that we do with this band in particular is not like trying to delve deeply into any sort of emotions.
Right.
Like I think
Yeah.
a lot of it is providing release for whatever,
Yeah.
like just listening to fucking rockin' music and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, there's definitely something, and like maybe this is answering one of our own questions, and maybe this is something else. But how do you translate the live experience, and all of that into the studio setting? And I think that's the
Right.
element that's missing is the excitement of that live performance of who knows if I'm going to play the next note right or hit the right
Right.
fucking spot on the drum or
Right.
sing the right note.
And
or-
that and the spontaneity.
yeah,
of it too,
exactly.
Because,
The spontaneity and just not knowing. It's very raw.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any rawer than that. I mean, we have a blueprint, but we're
Right.
I mean, essentially
Right.
we're kind of winging it.
Yeah.
There's an
well, that's-
episode name.
Yeah,
Winging it.
kind of winging it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. But there's also like an aspect like I forget where I heard it or read it or whatever, but somebody was saying that like really the recorded version of any song is just a snapshot of that song at that particular time. So like
Right.
when we're in the studio and we're working on shit, I mean songs they're gonna change even just slightly, like
Sure.
over time.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
So I think that it kind of is like playing it live, and I think we've gotten better at kind of capturing that feel to it, at least when we're playing in the studio.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah. Because definitely.
And I think a lot of that has probably been Chris figuring out how we play live,
Yeah.
Right.
figuring out how to try to.
see episode 4.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Try to recreate that in the studio,
Yeah.
and then
Right, but the musical relationships, and then how does
Right.
that translate into, a relationship with yourself and others and the universe and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, I mean
Right.
it's deep shit because music is very fundamentally human, which is tied to our emotions and our
Absolutely.
lives and stuff. I mean, you learn music before you speak. I mean, you're basically making music while you're going ba 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 and then
Right.
slapping on yourself and stuff. And
yeah.
and before the anthropologists have discovered that before there was actual speech, there was all rhythm and stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's tied to our very soul, our very nature. So it has to be connected to emotion,
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and that's probably why we're so nuts.
Well, and I think maybe and he touched on it too when he was talking about, doing the meditating and the movement thing and stuff like that.
Right.
Cause I dabble in all of those things and whatnot, but how
I really wish we had more time to talk about that specifically, but I know that could have opened up a
Oh,
whole
sure. Yeah.
Right, that would have been that. Well, and that's
Hours and
why
hours.
I was also like, dude, if you have time again, like we could fucking talk to you for
Yeah.
a while. Like I can tell right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so, going back to music or sound or whatever, or rhythm being more than just, what we're doing now or any of that stuff, but being tied to something even more intrinsically deeper than even being human.
Right. Something like
if you want to get something
and-
of spiritual nature.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know there's
experiential.
yeah, like I know, for me,
Right.
I mean, who knows, right?
Right.
Right.
Well, that's kind of what I mean when I say part of the universe, because
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that means different things to different people.
It's
so,
true.
So that would be part of my apology letter, but
No, that's fine.
but sorry, Satanists.
Well, yeah.
Where was I going? Oh, so where I was going with all that is those times when you hear something that's so cool, and I mean, there's been time, and I don't know about you guys, but I mean, there's been times when like he said, I'm playing a riff, and I'm like, dude, I know.
Right.
Like
It
the hair
touches
stand
you.
up on.
Fuck yeah, like the goosebumps.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this
That
is something.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a transcendent
This is a good one.
moment.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it happens kind of a lot when we're playing live.
Oh,
Usually,
yeah, exactly.
and when we're writing stuff, and
Yeah.
that's how you know it's a good
Like,
song.
yep, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Or I mean, and it's so simple though. It could just be a power chord. It could just be one chord,
Right. Well,
one note.
like
And that's
in
it.
Fucking all right, like with that solo, like where it's awesome solo, and then it goes into the like
Yeah, that change.
Oh, yeah. Right.
like the first time I heard that, I was like visibly aroused.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, that kind of
Yeah.
shit. Like
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
like it doesn't have to be super
Right.
crazy, but
Right.
like that something
It's-
small can kind of give you the goosebumps.
Rule 1.
Right,
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because the simple stuff, I mean, it's simple because it's understandable. Like it's and the understanding is more than just logic, you know. So
Yeah.
like that emotional response, that spiritual response,
Right.
is. It's just it's hard. The reason why I'm stumbling over my words is because it's hard to describe, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a
It's just
feeling
you
rather
know it.
than
Right. Yeah. But I mean, we all know it, and
Yeah.
I think it's something that I don't know if I was reading. Somebody sent me an article a while ago that was like something about how only a certain percent of people actually feel like from music, like how we do.
Right.
But it's like almost all musicians do, right?
Right,
Because
because
that's
that's-
what they're drawn to.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I
yeah, it has
wonder
like the
if-
goosebump
right
thing. Yeah.
But
But not
I-
everybody gets it. Yeah.
So we play for a lot of drunk people, and they really like it. So I'm wondering if like alcohol has something to do with kind of that's like the
Well,
great
Right.
Yeah, the great equalizer.
Yes, the great
Yeah,
equalizer.
Right.
So we're looking for sponsors for Idiots with Instruments. So if you're an alcohol company,
Right,
please email us at redhotrebellion
Right.
at gmail.com.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it could be because because alcohol lowers your inhibitions.
Right.
I mean, in the logical part of your brain, so you're more like in the moment a lot of times, good or bad, and you're not thinking
Right.
much at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what works, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
so basically, I think what we're trying to say is that we're like
Drunk babies.
drunk babies. Pretty much.
Drunk Neanderthals.
Drunk,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But we're not. Yeah,
I
but
know
we're
I
not
haven't
inebriated.
stopped hitting myself since I was born.
Well, and
It's
that-
just moved. It's
right,
now
and
my
that's the thing. Like I think about guitar riffs and songs like all day long. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah,
and
I'm
that's-
I'm thinking about music or
Yeah.
like something else creative, and there's always music in my head,
yeah.
no matter, even if I'm asleep. Some of the coolest music I've ever heard is stuff I've dreamed about, and I wish I could write that kind of stuff, but can't do it.
Can you hum it?
Sometimes, yeah, I
Yeah.
need to keep a record.
You need
yeah.
a little Zoom.
Yeah.
Are we sponsored by Zoom yet?
Yeah,
You're talking about the Zoom H1 handy recorder?
My, is that a fine
Yeah.
recorder?
Look at
Wow.
this thing. It has an easy power on and a USB out with a mic line in. This is the greatest thing ever. The
also-
Zoom H1 handy recorder by Zoom.
It
Ask
also
for
looks
it by
sharp.
name.
Zoom.
By Zoom.
Zoom by Zoom.
Zoom.
You
Sponsors
should.
Yeah,
You should.
but,
I mean,
yeah.
you should.
Just get a little recorder. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got the little for the HD recorders that we got.
I think they're
Yeah.
all broken. But yeah, I mean,
Oh.
they had their.
That would be even better. A video of you in
Well,
bed.
yeah. Like just my face.
can't
Okay,
you-
I just had the coolest idea.
Are you able? Are you able to just record audio with that, or do
Yeah.
you have to record video too?
I mean,
No,
I
you
sleep
can
with
do
an iPhone next to me, so I could easily do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made up riffs and put them on the phone, but then when I try to discern what the fuck,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like I'm like do 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 do. I'm like, what? Where's
Well, you
that
know what,
at?
though? The first $50 famous song I wrote while folding laundry. And I
Oh,
wrote
nice.
wrote it on my iPhone.
iPhone?
Was
Nice.
We play punk for money. We
Oh,
play
yeah.
punk for money.
That's a good
So,
one.
There you go.
That
And that album is fantastic.
It is. It's really good. There was that guy who was next to us at Gem City Comic Con.
Yeah,
who
he was a voiceover.
teaching.
Yeah.
He had his his panel about how to get into voice acting.
Really?
Yeah.
We didn't go do it, but we probably should have.
Yeah, we totally should have.
sent
Because
you to
yeah,
it.
I've,
Right.
I,
But we can contact
I have
him.
a demo for
right?
voice acting on voices.com, which is like a marketplace for
Oh.
Really?
freelance. Yeah.
Oh, no
Never
shit.
been contacted, but
Was it pre or post Ace Tucker?
pre-Ace Tucker. But I've changed my demo to be the Ace Tucker promo.
Okay.
There you go.
Nice.
But, speaking of which, the Ace Tucker Space Trucker audiobook is now on audible.com.
Oh.
And it's actually selling pretty well. People
Nice.
also right.
Is it you reading all? Do you do all the voices?
It's the cinematic, it's the podcast.
Okay.
Condensed and expanded.
Cool.
And,
okay.
Yeah, so-
Condensed and expanded.
Yes.
okay.
That makes
So it's
perfect
worth
sense.
every penny.
Condensed and then expanded again into the podcast.
Audible.com. Ask for it by name.
No, that's
Ace
great.
Tucker
great.
Space Trucker.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
We still have 3 Patreon followers.
we have, what you mean, 300? No, yeah. We Laney Jane is still our biggest Patreon.
Laney
Patron.
Jane, nice.
Yeah, or whoever the hell he was.
Who is it? Oh,
Dick
okay.
Roburn? No.
Dirk.
Dan
Pantaleone.
Task.
Yeah, it's
Thank you
around
so
somewhere.
much, Dan Pantaleone, for helping us secure.
Dan.
Maybe that's
Dan
a bit.
Panty
We just
Cannoli.
make up a name every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we'd like to give a shout out to our patron of the week, Dan Pantaleone. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Order up.
Order up.
Yeah. Order up for Dan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a
yeah.
mensch.
So music and is
Yeah.
cool and
Yeah, that was really that was a lot better than what I was expecting from
Definitely.
someone that I'd not
right. Never.
not
never
interacted
met,
with
never
ever.
not met.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Pro ship.
Yeah. Pro.
Yeah. It makes me feel
Oh,
better
shit.
about how the
I
next
would-
interviews will go, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little inside baseball. I don't know if this is going to make the final cut or not, but
Yeah, that's fine.
that seemed to work pretty well for recording wise, but I mean, because you have to be able to get people in their natural speaking way on a cell phone, you know?
Right.
Like a lot of like shows, they'll like be like, they'll like do this, record yourself, send me the MP3 of you talking to us over Skype, and then I'll put it in post, and it's a big thing. Like one of the
Weird.
some of the interviews I've done when I was promoting Ace Tucker Space Trucker, ask for it by name, was they would like say, okay, go download Audacity, which is a free DAW.
Right.
Record
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Here's like get a microphone, get a interface, do all this shit, plug it in, record yourself, send me the MP3, and I'm like, no one's gonna do that, especially the rock and rollers that we talk to.
Right.
Like, so we got to talk to them on their goddamn cell phones, like normal fucking human beings.
Yeah.
Well,
So you're gonna hear some Matrix shit every
yeah,
once
there were only a couple times when he dropped out
Yeah.
where
I
it was
thought he
kinda
was adding
bad.
in the auto tune.
Yeah, he was in the studio.
Right, yeah.
So in LA. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what
We
studio?
didn't
Damn
ask him
it.
what studio he was
Fuck.
at.
Well, it wasn't
But
Electric
Wasn't
Lady.
like,
Lady.
yeah. Okay. So that's
yeah.
Yeah.
definitely not Electric
Right.
Lady.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You asshole! You wrote
unless it
down
was-
notes and you didn't even ask him.
Yeah, well,
it's
I
okay.
got caught up in the moment. I was like
Right.
listening to him. I was like
Right.
really
Well, and
into it.
They're
enjoying
really,
what he was
Yeah.
having to say, and it really
Yeah.
made a
Yeah.
lot of sense. So
there really wasn't any dead space there.
yeah, I didn't
No.
want to
Like,
cut the man
so-
off.
No.
And then when we lost him a couple times and the auto tune thing happened,
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, yeah.
It was like listening to auto-tune the news.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, but that's what the kids like.
yeah.
They do like that.
And we're pushing 90 minutes now. We should probably wrap this up.
Wow.
Well, that's all right. We can break it up into a couple.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that 90 minutes since we've been on the phone with him.
no.
'Cause I
No,
was-
like the
yeah,
whole
the whole thing.
episode.
I can
Yeah.
go all night,
That's fine.
baby.
Yeah.
I know you could.
Like sexually, is that the joke?
I mean,
Is that the?
whatever it takes. It's usually like 60 seconds of sex and like 89 minutes of crying.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it
Yeah.
is.
I'm
to
not
be
behind
with-
the kid, or I
to
could
be
start
like-
the point groove.
Hey, did somebody order a pizza in here? With extra sausage?
I'm here to fix your sink.
Somebody call a plumber? I'm here to lay some pipe.
Oh.
Hey, I'm the carpenter. You got anything you need nailed?
Order up.
There's my voice acting, right?
Yeah.
I could do a whole series of like penthouse letters and I'll
Yeah.
read them and shit.
We should, oh man, we could have some completely unrelated segments.
Yeah.
Like we could get some of those super trashy, like less than $1 romance novels, like that you
Yeah.
get from the
Oh,
porn store
yeah,
or wherever.
From my
They're, like,
mom's house?
flowing-
Yeah,
throwing them
and
away.
just, like,
yeah,
have
right.
Doug
And you
read
just-
them.
Hey, Mom, can I borrow your book?
And it would just be like you on the hi-hat and me on the bass.
Yeah, like, it's like a super sultry voice.
And then he slid his purple-headed hammer into her quivering mound of love pudding.
That sounds like a completely different podcast.
Yeah,
like
the
there's enough
purple-headed
material
thing.
there
Yeah.
that we could do. Yeah, each season could be a different book.
Yeah, so if that's the Patreon you want to get behind, find us on patreon.com/purpleheadedhammer.
This is almost certainly going to be for the fans only, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like for the
This is the
Patreon.
extended
No, we
Right.
got to put this shit out.
I mean, that's true.
I want to laugh at this over and over again.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Good work, everybody. Yeah.
So
So,
I think that'll do it.
Yeah,
for this
that-
episode.
I think that
are
might
we
do
wrapping
it.
it up again?
Yeah, let's wrap it up again.
Let me say something really deep immediately after we
Right.
Right. Okay.
start talking about it.
That'll do it for this episode of Idiots with Instruments. My name is Jim, and I'm reminding you to keep it simple.
My name's Doug. Please, for the love of God, stay hydrated.
My name is Adele Dazim, and I never play acoustic.
I sell knockoff materials. Bye.
Idiots with Instruments is a Solid Arts and Science production. All rights reserved throughout the multiverse. Please subscribe and review the show on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Visit idiotswithinstruments.com for exclusive bonus material and to support or sponsor this show.